Okay, so we're in the middle of Istes. And what the Nekuda is that after identifying the four Dalgas, he then adds even higher. Menucha Shlema She'ata Roitzeba. He said that Menucha Shlema She'ata Roitzeba. So this is essentially drawing on the Pshitas Mamish of Ein Sof, wherein can therefore be the fusion, because the etzem, even in his chalkus. So Ato, he said before, is already chesed Ein Sof, chesed. But Shin is the way the midas all are mamish in one, higher than even chesed Ein Sof. That's the three strokes. I think I mentioned the word shalom therefore begins with a shin, because that's what true shalom is. True peace, true harmony is the fusion of that which is in their own worlds, as it were, irreconcilable. But then they become one. So in the words of the Maamar, because it's a level that the yichud hakavim, in the middle of a test, there's a level that, relative to this level, nechshavim yichud hakavim v'gilui hakavim, all one. So yichud hakavim is the shin, and gilui hakavim is the ata, and it's all fused in one word, because this is a level that's higher than both, namely the atzmis dika'oy. Are we clear? So the relatively speaking, the Gilui Hakavin is Gvul, all relative, very relative. And where they are Biskalulus Mamish, that's the Shin, it's all relative. So in one word, She'ato, and Bechlal is known, Ato goes in Atzmos, so here the Ato is deeper. Here's usually Ato's Ato, right? Atzmos, you beyond all definition. But here, we're explaining Ata Echad v'Shimcha Echad in the context of Ata and Shimcha, that these are kavim. But She'ata now, that indicates Mamish Atzmos, and there, Shin and Ata are all one. The Skalolus with its Mamish and the Gilui Hakav, they're all one. And how is that? And Yidin Mamshach is Lamata. How Yidin able to do that? Because Yidin Yechidish of the Nefesh Beneshama is Mushresh. That's a Yechida. That's a Yechida. Is Mushresh rooted in the Pshitus of, it doesn't use the word Etzem here, but that's what he means. The Pshitus of Ein Sof, and therefore, Akir V'yedu K'mei Yitzchan, here Yitzchan Mamish. Yitzchan going on Atzmos is the Menucha Shleima Shataret. So this is the real Menucha that you want. It's not the menucha, not the gilui of all of the dargas of ishtalshalus they described earlier. That's not what you want. That's only there in order to facilitate the kavanah. Pnimius, the she'ata reitzeba, and that is drawing on the etzem. And where is it revealed? As he goes on to say, dafk lemata, the menucha shleima she'ata reitzeba, ki me'itchem menachasam is dafk lemata. That's what he's in the middle of explaining now. What he's explaining now is, excuse me. Can't find the coffee maker. What he's explaining now is that the neshama is mushish in the pnimis haychida. That's the neshama's pnimis haychida. So he started to explain that there's two levels of makif. Makif harochik and makif hakarev, makif harochik, levushim bias. But even bias, it's still, as we explained yesterday, it's still tailored to the person. A house that's too high and the walls too far away, it doesn't create an intimate place. So on the one hand, it's not measured by a person. You know, a 6 foot tall person in such a house, a 5 foot 4 person in such a house. That's levush. Everybody comes into a house equally, no matter what tzir, no matter what tzir the person is. That's the height, is the tzir, seichel midas, the gibui, the build of a person. It's not how a house is built. On the other hand, it is built lefi erech a person. You're not building a hall. You don't want your bedroom, you don't want a hall. Your bedroom, you want a room. And you then likewise your dining room, etc. So even though it's a makif arochik bias, it's still it's a shaykhs to krichas premium. And that's yichid stam. Mashenkin etzem yichid is completely removed from krichas premium. That's what we're up to. Now the paradox is, where's that nisgala? Where is the etzem nisgala? Not in the person himself, but outside the person. Completely outside the person. In his daladamas. Let's revisit that again. Before we go further, he's going to illustrate it. This is the Yisoid Shebisaydes in Chassidus. Al derech zelamayla, that was Atzmos found, not in any of the darkest of Ishtalshalas, not even the highest darkest of Makif of the relative Yechida. Dafka where in Hashem creating a world that's kavayochel, fundamentally independent, separate, a yesh, a emes a yesh and yivre. That's where the yesh amiti is found. Sof kol sof, the reason for that is because Nisav HaKadosh Baruch Hu liyasadir b'tachtonim. He wants mitzad Eibishter could be found in Giluyim also if he wanted, but in Oyer. But after Nisav and Atzmos, the Eibishter decided dafke b'tachtonim, that then becomes the reality and manifested in a person. That where's a person's etzem manifest dafke in the world outside of him, in the daladamas. So let's see this inside. That's what we're up to. So the etzem and Hashem has no shaychas l'chura to the krichas pnimiyah, not like a bias that does, which is the relative yechida. What the word used over here in yechida gufa. Yechida atzmis, that's the term he calls it. So, where is it manifest? Well, at the bottom, I don't know if you have the same setup. It's tes. If you have the same, it's page nun tes, ois tes, and it is almost halfway down. So just because to remind you, this is a takonas chachamim. Rashi brings in the chumash lagabe. He's going to bring it to Tchumim. The Chachamim found a remez in Torah. We'll see in a moment. But upon it, what the Chachamim Mesakim, the person's Dalet Amis, acquire for him. The reason, the reason Bechatzedis is in order to avoid strife and conflict, people fighting over a found object. Doesn't really have in the Meshus Rabbi Mamish, but in the Carmelis and in the Simta and the Movoy, all of these places, the Dalad Amos is Kaina. That's what they're misaking it. So, as Rebbe points out in Yonesh Teres Chassidus, this Takonet Chachamim goes beyond what's it based on? Kinyan Chotzer. The person's Chotzer acquires for him. If something lands in my chutz, in my property, so provided it is surrounded with mechitzas, I'm koina. Here, you're koina, even there's no mechitzas. Now, usually, if a person has a shetach, a chotzer, that doesn't have mechitzas, he has to be standing by it, and he has to want that it should be koina. Here, a person's koina, even shalom l'daitoi. So the Chachamim made the takona that a person Dalet Amis can be kind of even greater than the construct of the din of Chatzah. And it's strange. What's the hasbara? So here's an example where Rabbi Chassidus is understood. As he goes on to explain. Because the etzem of the person is nispashet and nisdaled amas, outside of himself. And we'll see in a minute that's even further, it's even obviously further than his bias. But the daled amas starts outside the bias, even as we'll see in the Chassidus. And he's koine an object that is hefker. And he's koine even without even being conscious of it, even without even knowing. Without even having the kavanah to be koine. Why? Because the Yechidish B'Nisham is hiding all the keiches pnimiyim completely. This is him, period. Not him filtered through seichel, kavanah, etc. His fundamental being. So it falls within his radius of daled amas. It fell into him. The pele here is, what does he want to bring out? Mitzad nis'ava kadosh baruch hu. He said, "Dir b'tachta mit atzmos is nesgal ledavke in the yeshan miti is nesgal ledavke in the yeshan nivra." So this house works also for a person because the neshama is mushish in atzmos. It's the whole kavon is ipsori yachseleka. He wished to design the person and the goof this way, the halach is this way to reflect his being. That's the whole point. It's the only way we can have an understanding and a relationship with him is through our own experience. So, bottom line, that where is the Yechidah Atzmis Nisgale? Not in Keiches Pnimiyim, not in Seichel, not in Midas, not even, he says, they felt even he in Rotzen in Tainug, in the classic sense of Tainug, where Chutz Me'adam. There in Yonashter Chassidus he adds, the Chum Mesakan it only legabe a chayfetz, an object, not legabe other things. An object that is hefker. But again, because that's expressive of Nisava Kadosh Baruch Hu. The dafke tachten, and the dover gashmi, which this person has to be mild in the kavanah of atzmos, the nitzat kedusha, his yichida atzmos is koine it, even without his consent, and becomes part of his world, and he elevates it. It's the whole model of the Tachtonim right there. That the yesh hamiti is this gal, the dafke, and the yesh hanivrin is a completely separate object. It's that externally is fundamentally outside his world. But Pnimius it isn't. There's a nitzat kedusha that he has to elevate. That's Pnimius. That's why as soon as it falls in his daled amas, he's kind and he elevates it. It's the whole model of the Tachtonim. Let's see it in the words of the Maimon. That where is the Yechid manifest in his daled amas? These are more distant from him, his daled amas, than his garments, and even a house. Why? Daled amas shalom the maschilim. Acharadais. The whole city outside his house is considered like his daled amas. He's referring in Yichus Eidevim. The person makes a tchum Shabbos. So he takes his food and he puts it outside the city. If he puts it outside the city, less than, let's say, less than 1,000 amas, so he can walk back into the city. Now, let's say, for example, he gave it 1,000 amas. So if it's a big city and he walks back into the city, he has 2,000 amas. Tchum Shabbos is Alpayim amas. He can only walk. He walks back into the city, and then he has another 1,000 amas. That's all he can walk. 2,000 amas from the place of the tchum, right? But if the city is smaller and the city ends before his 2,000 amas, then the whole city is considered like his daled amas, and he has another 9,000 minus daled amas, no, whatever is 1,000 minus 4 amas. I can't think. Amas now still to go from the city. The whole city is considered daled amas if it falls within the tchum. The whole city is daled amas. You follow? if the 2,000 amos from the place where he put down his mozeh and his food, which is koine shvisa, that's how he make tchum Shabbos. If going back into the city falls in within 2,000 amos from the place he put down the mozeh for two sudas, the aid of tchumin, he has the whole city is like dalat amos. He walk another 9,906 amos. So what do we see? The dafke shom continue. Was that clear? Yeah. The dafke shom sheira bechinas yechida atzmi shebechinas pshitas haneshama. So where is the bechina, the yechida atzmi of the neshama of the person nizgala? Not the vush, not in bias, but the dalat amos. Adug mezel the maidel, likewise the maidel. Miduash is based on in ishtalshalus. So there's two ways in ishtalshalus, meaning to say, well, one thing comes from another. Ishtalshalus ma'ayin liyesh. So the one hand it's very radical. And then it's ishtalshalus miyesh liyesh. Now what's the moshel of ishtalshalus yesh miyesh? I think the only moshel belief in that is the creation of a child. The creation of a child that comes from the etzem moyach ha'av and then becomes the tipa. This is difficult how this works, but I state this in Kabbalah. Based in Tanya, the tipa is rooted in the atzmiyas hamoyach. I'm sure Bagashmis is true at some level, and it travels, it says, down the shedra, the spine, whatever, and it manifests as a tipa, and the child is born. So it's the yeshar miti of the person, the atzmi of the moyach, higher than seichel, glue. You're talking about that very brain. You're talking about machshava, gufa, the highest atzmi dargas of being, and that produces the tipa. What I'm saying is, it produces the tipa. The actual atzmi moyach then transmutes and becomes the tipa. That's how that's the vort in Tanya. It's not like the tipa exists and the brain, the excitement of the brain releases it. There has to be excitement in the brain for the whole process of conception to take place, for the whole arousal to take place. But it's not like the tipa is there and it's released. The tipa actually, its mocker is in the atzmiyas hamoyachim, and their descendant is projected and outside of him, and then it's niklet in malchus and becomes a child is born.
So isn't that yesh me'ayin then? You're using that as an example of yesh me'yesh.
That's yesh me'yesh, yeah.
But why wouldn't that be yesh me'ayin? It's coming from something that doesn't have a physical existence.
So
Etzem hamoyach.
First of all, it is physical. That's a mamoyach, but we'll see why. He's going to address it. What the answer to your question is it's physical. It's physical. It's the etzem mamoyach. It is physical. But let's see in the words of the mind. What's into yesh me'yesh and yesh me'ayin? What does he want to bring out? So the ayin is the mocker, but the ayin itself is not nimshach in the yesh. Ein nimshach b'yesh gomer. An ayin will not be nimshach. The catalyst will start the process, but will not itself be present in the yesh itself. For example, classic. K'moi do inyan da chochma ayin timotze. So Chochmah, which is a manifested conscious faculty of the nefesh, the highest conscious faculty. So it comes from ayin. What's ayin? Haram shochem b'chinas ayin, the keser, ayin is keser. So where is it? Nimshach b'chinas ha-chochmah dafke. Why difishe b'chinas chochmah keilu le'yin sof? It's a bit further, chochmah, because it's bittul, so it's a keilu le'yin sof. And where is that? It's the level of ma. It doesn't go further. Lower than Chachma, the ayin of Kesed is completely not manifested. It's only manifested where? In Chachma and the bitl of Chachma, because Chachma is a keli for the Ein Sof. And then, as Chachma produces Bina and the whole process continues thereafter, the source that began it all in the Nefesh, the Ratzon, whatever is the relative, is not Nimshech, manifested in the Koichas Gloyim. The Koichas Gloyim have their own worlds completely. Chachma itself is a kelik of its bittul, but then when it comes to the bin and das and midas, so the whole process of the pasha, it's just saying simple oisius. A person wants to understand something, a difficult subject. If he really wants to understand, all of a sudden he starts with Ratzon, that's the Chachma, his desire to understand. Now, Ratzon Banish is not limited to Seichel, he can just Ratzon in anything. But he's putting in the Seichel, he's investing his will in Seichel, and that's going to compel from the Kriach HaMaskil to produce, come up with the answer, and then the answer, and then it's Chachma. So at the Chachma level, it's a Kedi, because it's Bittul, the Ratzon can be seen there, because it's Bittul. Like Chachma is a Kedi for himself. But once the process goes further, and he then grasps the idea, das, and then midas, and then acts upon it, and whatever, etc. The Ratzon, it set the whole motion, did its thing, recedes to the background. It's not nimshach. This powerful desire to understand. In fact, it can't be nimshach. I want to understand. If you can hang on to that, I deep want, you won't understand anything. It's got to drive the process, and then it's got to get involved in the keches pnimim of understanding and learning. All driven in the background by the will, but the will is not manifested. When we draw on the Yesh Amiti, I think the only dogma is the creation of a child that draws of the Atzmizdike Gashmius, chelik of the person. That's why Yofa Koyach, Haben Koyach Ha'av, can even be more talented than the father, but it's Mikoyach Ha'av, because it's from the Atzmizdike level of the father, where there's the potential for things that he doesn't have in a manifested way, but they could come out in the child. So so the Yesh Amiti is manifested where? In the Yesh, in an actual Yesh God. So in the case of the father, the true Atzmitik of the father is manifested where? In another child that's outside of it, producing another child. An independent child, there is the Koyach Eitzaf Mamish, the Koyach Eitzaf, that's where the true essential depth of the father is found. Only that could produce another child. What does it produce? Something outside of him, Dafka. So let's see, conclude. Now, where's the etzem of the neshama, the presence of the person? Is dafke in the dalat amres, like we explained before. Why? Because he's koina, an object which is outside of him, and the idea of being, he acquires it and elevates its spark. This is the etzem and the neshama, like atzmos, being this gala dafke, where in the world that's totally independent and outside of him. Is somewhat clear? Is it? Good, I'm going to understand, sir. It's somewhat clear for me. Not much more than that. What's not clear? Let's discuss it. Let me add this to this. The Yesh HaAmiti, the Eibishter, is Nisgal Dafke in the Yesh HaNivre, in the created being. Namely, here's the paradox. The I am The I am, the fundamental I am, which only exists in the Yesh HaNivra. Once you get one step out of Elam Hazeh, just a little bit into Elam HaRuchni, Elam HaSiyah, Malchus, the Malchus of Asiyah, etc., the lowest down here. There's no I am. I come from you. There's strong I, but there's no exclusivity to Metzias. Once you get one step out of Elam Hazeh, up higher, there's an acknowledgement that there's a source. I come from somewhere. The I am that I am is only here. And here's the palette. And the reason for that, how is it possible? How is it, a simple question, how is it possible you walk around with this the biggest lie possible? It's not true. It's the biggest lie possible. But this is the heritage that we will walk around with. Created by God. The pneumistic reason is because in the higher world, but you get, because it's Atmos is not as God, is not expressed there. And therefore their narrative, their vocabulary is, I come from here. The higher you go, more you. And the I shrinks and dissolves less and less until there's no I at all. But none of them express the greatest bittul, the Eir is the greatest bittul to the Eibishter. Which is the truth, I come from him. So how is it this world? This fundamental impossible, this lie, and says it's not a lie. I mean, it's a lie only till the tikkun. The I am that I am, because the I am of the Eibush is invested here, and therefore we have this heritage. This heritage of I am just completely self-contained, independent. This is the beauty of it all. On the one hand, it's the lowest, biggest lie. On the other hand, it's the great. This is the truth. Only in this world, the I am of Atmos can be Nizgala. The Yesh HaMiti is expressed in the Yesh HaNivra, in the Dalat Almas, in the Chutz. Why? Because Nisava. Ultimately, because Nisava. Because he desired this world to be a dir Allah Yisbarach. And therefore we walk around this way. Therefore the Maimah is, therefore the Dalat Almas, the world outside of us is Kaina. Shalom B'daitu, we're not even aware of it. It's ultimately a connection to this object that fell in my radius of Dalat Almas. So the true I am will produce that which says I am. Not I come from. I am. The child is born independent from the father. But the emphasis, it's home it sees because of the father, the mother. Why? Because it comes from their I amness. Therefore, he becomes an I am. Not from the koiches hagiluim, which would always keep a connection. Always a connection. The paradox is it's a traceable connection. Seichel, Midas, the Holy Staff, it's all traceable. One thing, one ravel lead to the other, produce the other, up, down, it's all interconnected. That's because no level becomes the next level. The eye of any level does not invest it in the next level. It's illavol, it sits in motion, produces. Chain reaction, all interlinked. Stafka in Elam has it, they wish to invest the I am, and therefore produces an I am. And that's al derech, then a person, the Chachamim Mesaken. It doesn't say this Chassidus, but Lachur, it's understood. Why were they Mesaken? The Daldam says is kind of because of quarrel. What's quarrel? It's ultimate strife. Each one is saying, I am, not you, conflict. It's the whole point of the conflict. All conflict is rooted in yeshes. So in order to avoid conflict, the Mesaken, the Daldam says kind. It's exactly saying the point that in this world of conflict and division, here's where the Yesh HaMiti is. Here's where the ultimate unity is achieved. The ultimate expression of Atmos. But now he's going to, let's read further. This is all to explain Shabbos. Let's go further. In Yaakov. Let's continue. וזהו גם שבחינס היחידה פשיטוס הנשומי בכל ישראל בשווה. When it comes to Yechida, being Jewish, that everybody's equal. Being Jewish, I am Jewish, that's equal. When it comes to Makifim, Makif Arochik, even this transcendent Makif Arochik, which is on the one hand all embracing like a bias. Like we said before, everybody can fit in a bias equally. It's not, a house is not built based on the height of the occupants. But still, as we said before, they still have a shaykhs. At the end of the day, it's tailored to the human height of a person, seichel, etc., which reflects his seichel. Yechida means again, atzmis the yechida. Yechida atzmis, he bechol yisol b'shav. It's chamish Hashem is nikru law. This is the law. The it of the neshama, the I of the neshama. And this is from here comes the true place of Mesiras Nefesh. Every Jew is shaykh to Mesiras Nefesh, not just the inspired, the intellectual, the emotional, engaged. Like we saw, Eitzel Elo Shemosru Nafshon was an umgekommen. You know, it's an unusual expression to say the Maimon, you know, umgekommen is expression of, you know, the martyrs who were sacrificed. Al Kiddush Hashem, Shohaya Behem Anoshim Shutim B'Yosef, B'chusim, simple Jews, B'chusim, not sophisticated. Gam Behem, Kreicham Mesiras Nefesh. Why? Because nothing to do with the seichel, the conscious Kreichas Pnimim, not even the Kreichas Makifim, but Shebo Mitzad Yechida Atzmis. And there comes the complete, on the cheshbon completely, not Mesiras Nefesh to get Gan Eden. Makes the cheshbon it's worth the suffer, because no cheshbonis. Adrab, in a simple Jew, it's more manifest, because there's no cheshbonis. What's Kiddush Hashem is Mesiras Nefesh. And it's on this. Including words that comes from the essential I am a Yid, Pshitus and Neshama. Mamshichim Pchinas Apshito Shalamayla Megede Kavna Gamri. This is Mamshich, the I am of the Eibishter, higher than even the Ato Echad Lifnat Zimtzum. Gam Megede Kavna Commission Baptist, even higher than the She Ato the Shin, where they all be scholarless manners. Higher than that. In one word, it's a third level, the Atmos in itself. And why can Yid be Mamshich? He's saying because a Yid is Mushish there. The Yechida Atzmis is Mushish and Atzmis. But this is the Menucha Shleima that you want. This is where the sanctification of your name comes, the true Mesiras Nefesh. Commission is bad. We said in the previous Maimorim, in Shmini Atzeres. Remember, Shin Kiddush Hashem, who Shemamshichim Kedusha B'Shem. Let's remind ourselves of that tomorrow, Be'ezer Hashem. Kiddush Hashem, and Mamshich, he says Kedusha, the true Kedusha, Havdol, Atzmos, which is truly removed from everything. When Mamshich in Shem, the external levels, Lamata. That's Kiddush Hashem. Tafka Lamata down here.